tujiona
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Okay. Is it very
Just there. How are you?
Yeah, good.
The Vice President is giving his speech, so there's no reason for me to go, right?
Listen,
That's how you come. No? How are you doing? That's my man.
what's up, man?
How are you?
I'm good, sir.
Yeah, good.
How are you? Hey, Governor.
With a call for expression of interest. The call for expression of interest will go up to 30th April. Once we finish, we shall then have elections of the structure on May the 6th. The structure is the foundation of the party. The NRM party is a mass line party. And all that should be is that the members at the lowest, the village level, or the cell, or the branch, are the members who are the most important. The most important does not mean you disregard others, but this party relies on the last person at the village, and that is the election we are going to start with. Once you have a strong base of members, the 30 per village, times the 72,000 villages, you have about 2.5 million leaders of NRM in the country based at the village. To uproot such a party is not so easy. It has the largest canopy of leaders in Africa. If you make on the trajectory, that is the party which owns the country, because it owns the country by having leaders at every level. But the first level is in the 72,000 villages. So that is structure will start on, that election will start on 6th, and it will continue up to the district. We shall give you the details in the roadmap. We shall have parish. At the village election will be based on a college system. Members of the village come up to elect the mainstream, which are the 5, that is chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary, treasury, publicity, up to that, the 5. And then elect the committee members. Those total to 30. Now, when we come up with leaders of institutions within those villages, at times it comes to 35. That election starts on May the 6th. After that, then we go to the parish. When we go to the parish, it is now a family election of NRM members, closed up in a college. You are not a member of the village, you didn't start the structure at the village, you cannot enter at the parish. It is like an assembly of hens. Hens can have cocks and hens for eggs. Ducks cannot enter because their configuration is different. So after that, we go to the sub-county. So the 30 elected at parish level within a sub-county now move as a college into the sub-county. And when the sub-county elect, they move into the district. That will happen in the whole country, and it will take us exactly 3 to 4 weeks. By the time we reach the district is when we allow entry, because there are workers coming, because workers are not there at the village or the parish. That's when entrepreneurs come in. That's when even other national leaders come in. The joining now is after the sieving, and at district level, the bulk here from village, parish, and sub-county can tell that you entering at the district is our member and we know you. So at the district is when we shall allow entry of higher level politicians who want to compete for other positions. That election will then take us to delegates who will form the assembly, which we call the Nambole Assembly, part of them. The next election will be for members of parliament. Members of parliament election will take place before election of LOC 3 and LOC 5 chairpersons and councillors, so that we have a trajectory. The one for members of parliament, expression of interest, will be June 2nd to June 15th. You must come in with your papers and you move on. And of course, nomination will take place, and election of members of parliament we expect to take place July 16th. And after that, we shall have other elections for LOC 5, July 24th. Then we shall continue with LOC 3, 22nd August. What am I saying in brief? The NRM roadmap is a detailed document concerning election of the categories I've stated, and also the special interest groups at different levels. Because we tend to elect special interest group for the older persons, for the PWDs, the people with the disabilities, for the youth. And all this election leads us to a big population at the National Delegates Conference, where we shall again elect national leaders for the party, the SEC, and also members like the youth MPs, the MPs for people with disabilities, MP of the elders. So it is a detailed election, and NRM Electoral Commission has now started that journey. That then shows, then what about the issue of joint campaign? The issue of joint campaigns in NRM as a party is by Article 44(4) of the Constitution. Article 44(4) of the Constitution dictates that the NRM is a family, and all campaigns must be a family campaign. We are aware that there are people who mudslinging the current MPs or even others. They are aware, those who orchestrate propaganda, the propagandists. They are aware, those who have character assassination, want you to talk in the face of the other. You tell the members what you would have said in silence or in secrecy, and the other person has the right to respond. That is the rationale. It is a campaign of a family members that belong to NRM. It's a campaign that should not tear the party. It's a campaign where we want issues rather than sentimentality. So this election will be governed by Article 44(4) of joint campaign. When there are serious cases, the NRM Electoral Commission will intervene, but overall, we are going to have joint campaigns. The other thing you asked me about, the election that is not free and fair will produce disgruntled members of the party, and they can be independent. We are trying our best. That last time, 2020, we didn't have a register. Now we have a credible register to the extent of 90%. A register process does not end. It is perfected every time. We expect that by July, we shall have a register acceptable to the members, and if we can handle election free and fairly, there's no need for people to come as independent. So independent is not a choice. It is simply how we handle the election. Of course, there are also losers who don't want to be losers. I've seen petitions of 628 votes. A person said, I should have won. Yet the winner has 40 or 50,000 votes. That is human nature. If you read Thomas Hobbes' philosophy, you read the nature of man. Egoistic, sentimentality, very greedy, and does not accept defeat. The next question you put to me, the dates on the roadmap have gone through. The issue of primaries I've answered. She also wanted to know something about the joint campaign. And then the president was actually talking about the realignment of parliamentary activities with campaigns. How are we going to realign the business in parliament and the business out there of NRM primaries? The chief whip will answer that better because he knows the calendar. But I can tell you the roadmap simply guides. And once you are a candidate, you will then make a timetable for campaign. The beauty with the joint campaign is that when you are candidates now, you actually sit and agree on a program. But that's at the least, even primaries, they will agree on a program. And if you're a member of parliament and a sensitive committee called maybe natural resources, and you have that issue, you are free to tell members that on this day I'll not be there, let's push it to this day. But we don't want a lengthy campaign beyond 2 weeks because it is also very injuring to the country and the economy. And the issue of commercialization of politics is not an NRM paradigm. It is a third world economy politics recipe in Africa. Even in the modern world in USA, you cannot stand for any position until your financial credibility is worth standing. And that's why you see that people contribute money to a parliamentary candidate, a presidential candidate, to the tune that in the last election you had billions of dollars. But what is it we are saying about NRM? We want to interest you, members of NRM who are going for campaign, to read the law with regard to the illegalities during campaign. When we get you on illegalities, including but not limited to bribery, because you have a lot of money, the NRM Electoral Commission that I now head for another term will disqualify you. And then you appeal to the party central organ in charge of discipline. It will be you to appeal. Me, I'll have disqualified you. Because the powers in the Constitution allows me, the NRM Constitution allows me to disqualify you. Violence. Violence is a result of contenders. The way you speak to your supporters is the way they act. If you speak that you want peace and the world will not end if I lose, the supporters will follow you. I want to say a lot of counsel was given by the Vice President of Uganda. If I've ever loved the two, the President and the Vice President, have loved them and her today. Because it was personal testimony about herself and how peace should be inculcated in the voters by those standing. The voters don't start violence. Violence is started by those who want offices. And we want also to call upon the security apparatus, especially our senior people, the RDCs, that this is a party election where you don't need to take side and crack the boat and crack the party. We are going to meet RDCs. We are going to have different meetings with all stakeholders. We are going to meet the security bosses, especially the police that coordinates all the other security organs during election. And we agree on how to work. I thank you. Nomination fee is actually scattered. I've not got it here, but interest fee for all categories, starting with the presidency downwards. When we meet in the press conference by the Secretary General, we shall give you all that detail, because this is not my area, this is not my premise. I am a visitor in this house. I thank you. The visitor should not leave the sitting room to the kitchen.
There are two questions that I am going to pose. Why today's NRM Parliamentary Caucus meeting was chaired by the Vice President, and also we kind of unpack on the tips on wealth creation. Both under the NRM Constitution and the NRM Parliamentary Caucus Rules of Procedure, the chairperson of the NRM Parliamentary Caucus is the Government Chief Whip. And today's meeting, for all intent and purposes, was constitutionally and under our Rules of Procedure chaired by the Government Chief Whip in principle. Our Excellency the Vice President represented His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda. And you all know that His Excellency the President is the national chairperson of NRM. But in today's meeting, the Vice President represented the President of the Republic of Uganda. That settles that question. On the tips on wealth creation, the National Resistance Movement has gone on record as the first ruling party to introduce tips. But in as far as today's tips on wealth creation mobilization was concerned, the emphasis were on Emyoga and PDM. The beneficiaries of PDM in all parishes in Uganda, the prospective beneficiaries of PDM in all parishes in Uganda are represented by members of parliament, and the majority of whom are members of the NRM. Similarly, the beneficiaries at constituency level of Emyoga and the prospective beneficiaries of Emyoga at constituency level are equally represented by members of parliament, majority of whom are members of the National Resistance Movement. So the presentation on tips on wealth creation mobilization was meant to reawaken, to remobilize, to reassure, to reassemble, to remind members of the NRM to continue mobilizing, to continue monitoring the trillions of shillings that the NRM government has injected into the various wealth creation initiatives. So that was the gist of that particular presentation by the senior presidential advisor on mobilization, to remind ourselves that we have a social contract with the people of Uganda. We made a commitment to introduce wealth creation initiatives. We went ahead and introduced. We have injected resources. The beneficiaries fall within the areas that you represent. Continue mobilizing those who have benefited. Continue mobilizing those who have not benefited, because these programs are not ending. We have now implemented them for the last 3 to now 4 financial years consecutively. So that was the gist, because this is our own baby as NRM. We must continue reminding our members to ensure that the baby or the babies are not strangled, because they are not only 2. We have Emyoga, we have PDM, we have the youth livelihood, we have a WAPE for women, we have the special grant for persons with disabilities, we have the special grant for the older persons. Recently, there is also GROW, among many other wealth creation initiatives. Thank you. Could we stop here? Okay, thank you very much. God bless you. Pardon? Thank you, thank you. So, Mr. President,
roadmap tugifunye of course naye nga wakyalemu ebintu ebimu ng'ababaka ba NRM betwagala seekeddemu wetereze ebituulemu kwemu ebyo ebintu ensonga ba members ze baraisinze ze baagala seekeddemu etunule ku roadmap bagamba nti nno ekya joint campaign nti nno ababaka bonna abaagala flag ya NRM batambule wamu mu constituency bagende nga bakola campaign bonna mu kifo kyekimu ekyo ababaka bangi tebakiwagidde kubanga bagamba nti nno ejja kuleetamu okulwana mu bifo ebimu kubanga abantu bonna abalonzi n'abawagizi womu baleeta mu kifo kyekimu kibo bayinza kuleetamu ebyokulwana ate kirala abalala bagamba nti nno eyinza obutabeeramu bwenkanyi kubanga kansubire gwe obanga osoose okwogera munno najja nakuteekako ebyobulimba maaso nga ebyobulimba kitegere nti gwe togenda kuddamu okubyogera so ekintu kya joint campaign ba members bangi tebakiwagidde baagala seekeddemu ekitunulemu ku ekyo baleke buli mubaka atambule entambula ye akole ku bya campaign. Ate ekyokubiri of course ekirala ababaka kye bakisanyukiddeko basanyuse nti no fenga ababaka abantu ba NRM MPs okulonda kwa MPs yegenda kusookawo nga 14 ogwa July, and ogwa local government ogwa LC5 ne council guloko guddeko ng'omwezi nga 3 ogwa July. Kati ekyo tutujjukira nti no roadmap yasooka okufuluma yafuluma nti no aba local council elections yebadde genda kusooka, kati ba MPs ekyo bali tebakiwagira, so tweyanza nti no SEC yakyusiza ekyo nti no ffe babaka bajja kusooka okulonda ffe then baddemu balonde kiri. And then of course ekirala ekyavuddeyo ekya nomination fee y'ababaka aba NRM abagenda kuyimirirawo bajja kuba basasula million 3 nga ku luno mujjukira taamu eyaggwa 2021 twasasula million 2 ku luno yabadde million 3. Of course ababaka abamu badde bagamba nti no okendeeza abantu bangi okuyimirira NRM secretariat yandiyongeza nomination fee etuuke nga million 5 so that omuntu asooka neyeepima okulaba sente ezo zagenda okwonoona mu kifo ky'okumala abantu bangi okuyimirira. So ebintu ebikulu betubaddeko, so tusuubira nti no ensonga ezo wetugitwala seekeddemu ebitunule. Of course wali ekirala ekimu ekya voters registration. Voter registration ekyo nakyo bakyogeddeko n'ababaka tebanaba babulira ekituufu nti no bagenda okukola okutia verification mu kiseera kya kulonda abantu nga bayimiridde kati bayimiridde mabega wa mubaka waabwe bagenda ku verifyingibwa batya nti no bano bali mu NRM oba mu NRM register n'ekyo ensonga tebakireese mu bulungi. So ebintu ng'ebyo tujja kulinda seeke tuddemu tulabe nga we bigenda bibivuddeho. Thank you very much. Today of course we had the roadmap unveiled to us as members of NRM caucus, and about 2 or 3 contentious issues arose. One of it is the issue of the joint campaigns. The issue of joint campaigns actually came as a contentious matter. Most of the members are not actually in support of it because they believe that if all the supporters of the various aspirants are brought in one location, there may actually be causes of some violence, and this is why members are actually going against the joint campaigns, and they think that it will actually promote hooliganism, so they prefer that every member should actually be able to move and mobilize his own voters and address them in different locations than bringing all of them together. The second issue is of course of voter registration. We are aware that NRM carried out a massive voter registration all over the country, but the issue which has not come out clearly is how they are going to verify those voters on the day of voting, on the day of lining up, when they are behind their candidates. How are they going to actually do it? Is it through fingerprint? Is it manually? And we know very well that the atmosphere will be actually hyped at that time, and will there be all the time to cross-check everybody. And then the third thing that we are appreciative of is that right now the voting for the members of parliament will be the first. We shall do it on the 14th of June, and then the ones of the local government will follow afterwards. We are aware that in the beginning, the first roadmap that came out, the elections of the local governments were actually the ones going to start before that of the MPs. So we are going to send all these matters and we wait for the response of SEC to see what will happen. Thank you. Then the issue of the nomination fee, of course, nomination fee has been raised from 2 million to 3 million for the members of parliament. As you remember, in 2021, nomination was 2 million and now it is 3 million. But of course, some members have also raised issues. They prefer the nomination fee to be raised to almost 5 million so that it reduces the number of people who just want to come for these campaigns. As we are aware, there are many people who, some areas have over 10 aspirants. So we feel that if the nomination fee is raised, then probably it may reduce on the numbers of people coming up for constituency seats, and we have actually serious people only coming up to contest for those areas. So those proposals have been sent, and now we wait for SEC to respond on those issues, and we find a way forward.
Thank you so much.
Political roadmap 2024 to 2027. 2. Received and discussed the presentation on tips on wealth creation mobilization. Signed Obua Dennis Amson, MP, Government Chief Whip, Chairperson, NRM Parliamentary Caucus. May we proceed to questions and answers, and the competent team from the Electoral Commission of the party is here.
It's about the EC Mr. Chief, what has been ticked? What's the then is up the other item, primaries, and others. I have to know what when are the primaries, in the roadmap, side the roadmap, and when this primaries will happen.
You should stand independent against the party private bearers.
Radio 1 is a libertarist.
Why was this meeting chaired by the VP, who is the hierarchy of the direct party leadership?
Mine is electric, something like that. I was carrying a good statement that you read. Demand that you read very
Yeah, I love the speed at which we are moving, brief and straight.
When are the priorities? Can we just get a breakdown of the roadmap? Which activity, what's going to happen fast, can occur? The issues that you were discussing and was contentious was the issue of doing campaigns. How did you finally agree? Because we agree on doing campaigns or...
Yes. Two key issues. One concerns with re-arrangement of party activities. Because we are aware of the issue of commercialization of politics. I've seen that in the party primaries. There's been a lot of